On the coffee, putting on the coffee. I think the coffee's on. There it is. I think we're live. Hey, everybody, come on in. Come on in, have a seat. Welcome aboard. Don't push. There's no need to. We are live. That's my notification. Standards and Practices is active. Come on in. Have a seat. I think there's refreshments in the back. Like I noted in the notes, I didn't provide bagels or donuts this morning, so you'll have to do without. Come on in, unless you brought them from home. The chat is open. Marvi is in the house. Marvi says, hi, I would be able to see the show today. I'm not working because I'm taking a break from work. How are you? Cool. Like to take a break from work. It's okay, Anthony. You can speak up.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I was waiting for my signal.
Oh, were you? Hey, Anthony's here. Anthony's in the house this morning. Varian might be here. We're not sure. He's going to see if we can't drag him in this morning a little later. Eric's in the house. Ralph's in the house. Thanks for coming. Have a seat.
Yeah, Eric's in the house.
There's plenty of room in front here. I invited a few other people to jump in as well, folks that aren't normally always on this broadcast. So hopefully we'll have some fresh voices this morning. So what's going on in New Orleans this morning, Anthony?
Oh man, masks, and more masks.
We're all covering up.
Right. Right. You know.
We got mandated, even though our governor's had her executive orders struck down 3 times. She still keeps pulling them out and making fines. Just spinning a wheel for number. This executive order is $500 if you violate it.
Do you know anybody who's got hit with them yet?
No, I don't know anybody who's gotten a ticket. There's been a number of sheriffs and a number of counties that have said they won't.
Yeah.
I think there's been 1 shooting and 1 stabbing so far.
Over the masks?
About people arguing over when this first started. We had the first shooting here in Flint, actually, over a mask. That happened here in downtown Flint because the people stop people coming in without masks, and then they get indignant, and then an argument ensues, and then it's not like the old days where you just throw a fist or slap somebody. Early on, we had an old guy, an older gentleman, that he was told that he had to wear a mask. He walked up to the attendant who was telling him and wiped his nose on her sleeve and then left.
I miss the days when you could just slap somebody.
Yeah, he just got probation yesterday. So, come on in, everybody. Hey, Glenn Ford's in the house. Hey, Glenn, how you doing? Comic Book Advocate's in the house. Here we are. Randy, your feed is set to private again. I can't share it. Absolutely. It'll be public here. Just give it a second. I always started out as public, and then Facebook in their their ever-growing attempts at shadow banning popped me to private. There it is, public again. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Rob. Here we are. Marvi was a great guest on the indie event. Yes, he was. It was a great weekend. Marvi says, Rob, my man. All right, everybody. It's the Breakfast Buzz. It's Thursday. It's Thursday morning. At least here in the United States, it's Thursday morning. It may be different wherever you are. We welcome everybody from Indie Volt Radio. We're actually a little rudderless this morning until Varian gets in, but we're going to wing it. So yeah. I have absolutely no topics lined up, though we can find a lot of stuff to talk about. Great. Yep. I do have invitations out, though, like I said, so you never know who's going to pop in at any time. So now we are going to run the opening. Let's run that opening, and then we will get on with the show. Come on in, everybody. Thank you for attending. It's the Breakfast Buzz Thursday morning. I know that opening is here somewhere. And we got to get rid of a lot of these pictures. I think this is it.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Well, that wasn't it.
That's perfect.
Here we go. Hang on. What? Absolutely. Good morning. Come on in. We're here to talk comics and to drink coffee. How are you? Here with me today is Anthony Figaro from God's Hand. Anthony.
Yes, sir. Anthony
sir.
Figaro here out of New Orleans. Come to sit in with the great, the Swami,
Swami.
the inevitable crab man who is out to eliminate the crabs of the world, Randy Zimmerman.
Hey, everybody. I'm Randy Zimmerman. I am an independent and alternative comics creator. Been doing it for many, many years. Arrow Comics, Weeby Comics, Massive Comics, freelance with a lot of other independent comic companies. I've done just about everything in this business that you can imagine and then some. Flint Comics, I should add that too. Did Flint Comics for the last 10 years. My own little newspaper I circulated around the county. And now my real specialty is commercial art, commercial and graphic artwork that involves sequential art. And I'm working on my own crowdfunding book. Plus, I have the Zimm Geek channel here on YouTube, and I'm part of Indie Volt. And in my spare time, I sleep.
I think that's not true. I don't even think that's true.
Sometimes. All depends. Anyway. Yes, welcome aboard, everybody, on Indie Volt Radio. Mr. Grant will be with us here shortly, probably. If he can get up and around this morning, he's having a little bit of health problems that if you follow him on Facebook, you have probably seen rather graphically. So we don't have to go into that here. But we do wish him well, and we know he's going to get better. So.
Yeah. He'll be doing good. He'll be back in no time.
Welcome in the chat, everyone. Come on in. Marvy says, Randy, how's the water quality where you're at? I saw a documentary on Netflix about it and what Obama did. Is that? Are you talking about him drinking the water off of the plane and then saying that it was Flint water? Good stuff. Wouldn't even take the chance. Yeah.
Damn.
We could talk about that, but actually, I am. I am not really, though. We're not here to talk politics, but I am here 2 miles south of the lead water line, or what used to be the lead water line of the Flint water system. So I always had Burton water, which came up from Detroit, which is where Flint was originally getting their water. And our water was never in question. It was the Flint water that had the high lead levels, and some places had incredibly high lead levels. It's a long story about that. I do have to watch that documentary, though, on Netflix just to see. So I kept pretty good track of the story as it was going along. If you want to track back, you'll have to go way back. Go back to like 2014 on my Facebook. So I do have a daughter and granddaughter that are in the lead zone, but their water line has already been replaced. They're one of the fortunate few that have actually gotten their water line replaced at this moment. But
well, that's good.
Yeah, thanks to wonderful politics and everything that your typical finagling, there's still a large portion of Flint that doesn't have the new lines in, but they have switched back to Detroit water, and Detroit water's got a little additive in it that takes and puts a layer of plaque around the pipes, like that's the best way to describe it, like the plaque that gathers up in your arteries, and it keeps the lead from the pipes from seeping into the water. So their large solution, things are going to be okay now, talk was as soon as they switched back to the Detroit water, they told everybody to run their water for a couple hours, and that all of their pipes will be, recovered or replaqued. So
Replaque. That's
Yep.
good.
Well, as they go through and slowly change out all the lead lines. Flint is a very, very old city. As by old, I mean 1920s, about 100 years. A lot of our infrastructure has never been improved upon, and sometimes that's a good thing. If, for example, the infrastructure here was geared for large manufacturing. We were a GM town. We're actually the home of a lot of the car companies that turned into GM. And back in the 1930s, we were the home of the sit-down strike that literally started the UAW, that a lot of people attribute the entire middle class of America to. Came right just a mile or so up the street from me. But on the bad side, when this stuff starts corroding or mistakes are made, which mistakes were made, you run into problems like that on your infrastructure. So we've kind of been in kind of lockdown since 2014. So
Jesus.
especially the people in Flint who had to go out and get drinking water, and you don't know how much you take for granted until you don't have it. You know how much you take safe drinking water, and where there's been a couple of entire generations where they're used to the utilities. You know, how crazy would we be if we lost? Well, look at what happened with the pandemic. You know, how crazy would we be if cable went down? How crazy would we be if we didn't have the net? How crazy would we be if we didn't have television? You know,
Net.
yeah.
I think people could deal without television. I think if you knocked out the net, I think people would lose their mind.
Yeah,
Lose their
anymore.
mind. Straight up.
Emily Hill, thanks for listening, says LOL. Great opening from AV Harrison Promotions. Gary Valtenuta must have put me onto your program. New Orleans, me too. Transplanted to Seattle. But
Jesus.
but
I feel
Nola
for you.
at the corner of Bourbon Street,
Bourbon Street and
Esplanade, Beauregard House, condos, is
It's
my
her
perch.
It's her perch.
It's her perch.
I feel bad for you, girl. You're out there in Seattle. If you're from New Orleans, the food out there cannot compete, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm
You
sure.
know, and the laid back attitude cannot compete. So, God bless you, babe. I'm saying some prayers for you over here. I'm gonna go by Marie Laveau's grave later and go put an X on there for you.
Yeah, I've only been to New Orleans once. I was
You gotta
down there.
come back, man.
I know, because I was down there before Katrina, and walked Bourbon Street early in the morning.
Ooh, it's almost as dangerous early in the morning as it is late at night.
Oh no, it was real early in the morning. I mean, early enough to watch the barkeepers
You what? Flush out?
hose the vomit down
I was
into the
about to
gutters.
I was about to tell you that shit, man.
It was that early in the morning. Yeah,
Oh yes,
that's something I'll never forget.
yes sir. You move from one part of town to the other.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were at the Hilton, I believe, that's down there or was down there, not too far away from the casino. We didn't go into the casino.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I know what
We
you're
didn't.
talking about.
We didn't go into the casino at all because we were there at the Hilton for a show, comic show. That was a 2 or 3 day show. We made absolutely no money, none. And Adam West was there, and it was a bad time for Adam before he really got to appreciate his status as a genre star. And he kind of sat behind the table and looked grumpy all day. But at night, the nightlife more than made up for it. I lost a lot of money. At that show.
I'll bet, man.
But it was good. It was good.
We used to have these signs. They used to have these signs around New Orleans. I have to send it to you. It's from back in the day, and it says, "Beware of pickpockets and loose women."
Oh yeah. Well, I don't want to tell too far out of school because I know we're live, but we were down there. We were down there with Tim Vigil, and I'm not sure if you know who Tim Vigil is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the great artist on Faust, and he had to find what was in his mind the best place possible. Down there, the seediest, grungiest place that he could possibly find. We did a little bit of digging, and we found one that he liked especially well, and ended up leaving him there. While he
You don't
did his
remember the name of
well,
the joint, do
while
you?
he did his research. No, I do not. I'm sorry. It's been a while. But it was a place that I was worried about even sitting down at. But Tim was there to have fun. I do remember walking into one nightclub, though, and having it had to have been a 3-to-1 beer, really watered down in a what looked like a dirty bottle. Looks like it had been used and reused, and that wasn't a drink I had for very long.
They were
But
just preparing you for for today's climate with the Flint water.
yeah, it could be.
That's all it was. They were trying to build your immunity up.
The only place I remember down there distinctly, I believe, was called the Golden Lion
The Golden Lion
or the Gold Lion.
or the Gold Club.
There could be the Gold Club. Had a gold lion as their logo. So we had a friend that was, what would you call it? She was down there putting on a show. Let's put it that way.
Aha. Aha.
And it was a very memorable, unforgettable show. So she did an entire set on roller skates and then an entire set with candles. That was just amazing.
Maybe it was the Gold Club. I'm not sure. I thought you was gonna say Big Daddy's.
No.
That was the place where when you walk down the street, they had these two animatronic legs that would swing through the window and swing back and swing out the window and swing back.
I don't quite recall that. I
That's
recall
Big Daddy's.
I recall the cool thing about Bourbon Street was that it was souvenir shop, restaurant, jazz club, strip club.
Did you go and you went
Over
down there,
over and over again.
and you went down there at nighttime?
Oh yeah, yeah. I probably saw it. I just don't remember it. So it's been a while. It's been a long time. I have
Yeah, bro.
photographs from that place. That's how long ago it was.
What year you talking about?
Oh man, early 2000s had to have been.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, back when you still had disposable cameras.
I know. Man, Walgreens used to run them deals on them disposable cameras and shit. And you could bring them back over there. They reload them for you and everything. I remember that.
Yeah.
Good fucking time.
Oh, let's see. Rob Anthony, thanks for listening, buddy. Yeah, we were supposed to be finished by summer. With COVID, they are estimating fall, but who knows? Who knows? That's true. Marvy says he's glad to hear that. Dorfis in the house. Hey, V. V is not here quite yet, Dorfis. We're hoping that he'll show up. He is under the weather, I would say, just a little bit. He sent a very disturbing picture this morning of some of the... if you know of his medical condition, it is acting up again. Let's put it that way. Luke Stone says, good morning, guys. Good morning, Luke.
Morning, Luke.
Hope you're having a great morning. Luke is part of Terraform Comics. So, Emily Hill, thanks. Loving this new discovery. Early can be pleasant. Yikes. Yeah, we're here Thursday morning. Sometimes we're here on the weekend also. We're talking about doing a Sunday morning show, but we're not sure yet. So I'm not always around the microphone early Sunday mornings. Buddy Lord, Buddy William, Lord Adam West, the 60s campy Batman. Yes, buddy, there was a period. There is a phenomenal documentary out about Adam West. Bless his soul. Seriously. He was at the time I felt so bad for him because I grew up with the TV show when I was really, really young. So I knew of him and that and his appearance in, I believe it's Stooges Out West was the movie that he was the lead in with the Three Stooges. I remember that comic book distinctly and always loved that movie. And early in the late 80s, how do you like that? In the late 80s, I did a convention that he was at, that back when there was a period of time between Batman and Family Guy, right? He was on Family Guy. Mm-hmm. Where he was a very bitter individual because he was pigeonholed as Batman. He was very stereotyped, couldn't get any extra roles. If he was lucky to get a side gig, it was a co-star in a bad murder mystery TV series if he was lucky. A guest appearance, maybe a Love Boat kind of thing, and he was not a happy individual. He was rather bitter that the only real money he could make was at comic conventions and car shows. And at car shows, they always expected him to dress up as Batman. So, and you already know, if you've seen the Batman show, the costume's ridiculous anyway. Well, how do you like to be have to settle with the fact that that's the only way you can make money is if you get into that costume and go in front of a group of people and say, "Hello, chum." So after years and years of doing that, he was not a happy person. So he was at conventions begrudgingly in order to try to make money. And he was doing the New Orleans show, of course, probably because he hasn't been there in quite a while. They paid him to be there a little bit, I think. And he still was not happy. He sat behind his table all day and with his arms crossed and just kind of grumbly. And it was a very low attended show to start with, so he hardly got to talk to anybody. He was not in a good place. But if you watch that documentary, you see that once he was on Family Guy, and Seth MacFarlane gave him the attention and kind of woke him up to the fact, a beloved media star, that there was a reason that people went to the conventions to see him. There was a reason people got his autograph. And once he accepted that, he lightened up and warmed up to it. And then once he started getting other parts off of his very distinctive voice, he became a lot more lighthearted. And amazingly, his entire life turned around. And in the fact that he learned not to take life that seriously, to put his tongue in his cheek and become a much happier person on the inside, and it really shone out on the outside. And a lot of folks will tell you there was really two different Adam West, depending upon where in his career you ran into him. You either saw the bitter, angry, or curmudgeon-y, literally, Adam West, or you saw the happy-go-lucky, good to be alive version of him that everybody, quite frankly, loved a lot better. Glenn Ford says, I used to have people in New Orleans. I haven't been there since Katrina. Yeah. I'm sure down there, that disaster is a hell of a lot worse than Flint water.
Oh yeah, it was rough. It changed the entire landscape.
Yeah.
Of New Orleans. It altered it. Mm-hmm. And it never, I mean, New Orleans is New Orleans. You can't change the culture. You can't change the place. You can't change the atmosphere. But some of the policies, some of the things that shifted on us, and it took us a while, to kind of to pull back from that. Like I said, there are still places where you can go that are still, like I said, Lindsey Boggs Hospital is amazing because it's still demolished since Katrina. I mean, the building's still there, but it's in the same condition that it was in right after Katrina. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I do. I'm pulling up your Indiegogo right now. So yeah, let's swing over to comics. Absolutely. Marv says, "Godhand, looks like somebody is about to get his ass kicked." Looks interesting.
It's the New Orleans atmosphere, man. Looks like that, but then you get to know him, and it's like, oh, I really like this guy. He's really cool,
So tell us about your book.
All right. So God's Hand. God's Hand is a supernatural action thriller. It would be if you mixed Hellboy and Angel Heart. It's basically a story about New Orleans legends. One of the legends being Jean Lafitte, the pirate Jean Lafitte, who fought in the War of 1812 with Andrew Jackson. But we modernize the story and we make the story about magic, supernatural, occult. And so Jean Lafitte is called in after being exiled from New Orleans for the Katrina incident for the last 15 years to solve the murder of his lover and one-time partner, Marie Laveau. And he's given 48 hours to do this. So he comes in with his team of hunters and misfits, which you see right there, to find out what happened to Marie and who took her soul. So it's a lot of fun. There's werewolves, there's monsters, there's Lovecraftian parallel dimensions.
Mm.
A lot of action. So it's fun. It's a fun 50-page ride.
And this is in demand right now on Indiegogo. How's the book
That is
coming along?
correct.
Yeah.
It's coming along good. It's coming along good. I was talked with Marcus about it. I even was talking to Eric about it. Maybe have him come on and help me do some digital inks. So it's coming out good.
So
it really is.
Are you close to being finished with it?
I would say my really good goal is I'm hoping that mid-August we go to the printer. That's my hopes.
Good.
All right. So I'm in that window. I'm right there in that window. So I got a batch of about 15 to 18 pages I'm waiting to come back in from the colors. And once we get those in, Marcus is actually doing Marcus DeGisu, my editor, who will later on this year have his own book coming out called Justice City Chronicles. He is actually doing the lettering and the editing right now. So
cool.
We got that going. So
you are in the final stages then.
Close. Like I'm. It's one of those things where I don't have the experience that Mr. Randy Zimmerman has. I'm still a pup in this thing and working my kinks out. But it's an interesting process. I would tell you, if anyone who has created books and is responsible for the actual production side of it. It's a totally different feel, because you go from the creative side, which I've been on, and I've done, like I said, I've been an artist since I was a little boy. And when I first got into comics, it was a strictly, artist. And moving into, the actual production where you're responsible for, I told somebody it's like the process of I got a good friend of mine, and he's any type of where you can go from being a architect to an engineer to a fabricator to an installer. I mean, essentially you play all those parts. You take something from an empty page, and by the end of it you have a full product, which is printed, which is lettered, which is edited, which is laid out, which is color. The colors are laid out. You're making sure everything's balanced. Make sure your pages are laid out right. And so you print quality, make sure that your everything is up to snuff. And it's Billy Tucci once said, and it's like, it's what's tough is finding your balance, because you're like, okay, so when we're in production mode and I got to look over proofs and I got to look over dialogue and stuff like this, the art department's not working, the writing department's not working, the campaigning department's not working.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just not. And then when I'm fooling with dialogue and I'm fooling with writing, well, the art department's not working. The production department isn't. So it's interesting. It really is.
So is that kind of advice that you would give everybody who's thinking about doing this, is to make sure you have your ducks in a row?
Best you can, but also be extremely flexible, because you're going to find out that until you do this as many times as Randy Zimmerman and become a real schwami at it, you're not going to account for everything, and so you need to put time in there for the unaccountable. That I learned from doing construction work. I don't give a shit how many times people are like, all right, we're going to be here for 3 days. What that really means is, in your head, you're going to be there for 6 days. You better just figure that shit out from the grip, that whatever you're thinking, right? You'd better in your head add an additional 2 to 3 times what you're talking about, because you need to have that in there. If you don't, great. That is awesome. That is the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
But you need to put that in there to give yourself that, because inevitably, especially if you haven't done this multiple times for multiple years, you are going to run into things to which you did not even know you had to account for.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you seriously never know. And I still have that problem now with the amount of experience of stuff that I've done. Of, for example, telling a client, "Yeah, I'll have it done for you in a week," and then you realize that you really should have told them 2. So you never know what's going to spring up, what's going to pop in. So the best you can do is try to give your best guesstimate. And
That's it.
anymore, especially on the commercial work, I try to double the time that I think it's going to take, just
Absolutely.
because I know more than likely
100%.
something's going to spring up in the way. And when you're putting a book together, another thing that I learned rather painfully is that no 2 books are ever really alike, and that
Right.
there are so many different ways to make so many different mistakes that you really have to be careful and on the ball while you're doing the production work, while you're putting everything together. It never hurt. You can't. Don't think that you can do this solo. You need eyes on the book,
1,000%.
other than yourself, especially if you're pushing yourself to hit a deadline or you're under a serious deadline. Yeah, all of these comics, the mainstream comics that you see now, and sometimes it gets over in other countries or other publishing houses, it gets worse than just a penciler, an inker, a colorist, a letterer, an editor, and a publisher. Sometimes there's people out there who specialize in just doing backgrounds and doing certain figures in coloring, doing just flats, and somebody else comes in and adds the special effects, or somebody else comes in and works the tones. There's all sorts of assembly line jobs, all sorts of ways that you can turn this into an assembly line job. But one of the really cool things about the alternate books, the independent books, is that they are independent. And a lot of times you're getting the work from one person. And like Anthony says, you have to go through and learn how to wear all those different hats in order to get the job done.
Yes, sir.
So, and you learn pretty fast what you can and cannot do, so that you go, oh, next time I'm getting a letterer. Holy crap.
It helped. Yeah.
Or next time there's going to be somebody who does the flats, because these take
Right.
a long time. Or I'm going to find me a colorist. Or you really start, and once you do a couple of them, you really start looking at other people's products too, to see who's doing what well and who's not doing
Thousand,
what well. You
thousand
know?
percent.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I would throw into the mix is I would recommend that if you're going and doing this, you need to find a mentor, right? You need to find someone like Randy Zimmerman, who, again, and I mean this without now this I mean, listen to
You
me,
got to
listen
stop
to
the
me.
flattery, buddy.
Now this I'll tell you, this is not just jiving. I like to play. Randy knows I like to jive around and play, and
He just
you
likes
know,
to see my
and
face
cut
turn
up
red. Well, I don't have
and
the camera
cut
on.
and cut up and stuff. But in this situation, I am being serious. Like you do need for whatever. I, Randy's very proud of his humility, so he can't quite accept these, say these things. But in all earnestness, I have learned this over time is that, and one of the things that I have to tell you, that why I have whatever I do have, whatever little I do have, whatever reputation I have, the good part of my reputation I have and whatnot, is because I did have good teachers and I had good mentors, and I've learned this over time that, you know, that's what you want to find someone who is older, who has been again, because they have been around and they have experienced failure, they've experienced success, they've experienced heartbreak, they've experienced problems, they've experienced all these different things, and they're still here, right? And so the idea is well, I want to pick this person's brain and say, hey, what do you, can you help me with this? What do you know about this? What do you know about that? It's only smart business, not only in from money wise, but for your own self, is to find somebody like that and say, hey, this is what's going on with me. What do you know? Not that Randy's don't
know it all.
yeah, but the idea that I would walk into something that I don't know anything about, or I'm not familiar with, or I'm not confident in, and not look for someone who's been in here. I mean, look. You look for guys like Randy, these old, salty, crabby guys with scars and shit. And they're
real
still
crabby
there. You're like, hey, man, I want to know what that guy knows, because he's still here. After all this shit, after all this stuff, he's still here. What that means is he's a survivor. I want to know. I want to talk to the survivors.
Well, it's
Right?
there's no real trick to that. It's just that, and like I tell everybody, once you hold that first book in your hands, once it's physically there and you're looking through it, and you know that you've made it and you've poured your or that you've made that product and that you've poured your effort into that, hours and hours of effort, that's when you realize whether or not you're going to be in this business forever. You get the little tingle up the back of your spine and you go, this is so cool. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And a lot of us have figured that out. So it's not really a matter of survival. It's as much of a matter of just having to be tenacious, because there's nowhere else you really want to go. There's nowhere else you really want to be. And if like in my example, if you butt heads with doing it the way everybody else does it, you take a step back for a minute, you breathe, and you find a way to creatively do what you love outside without having those hassles. You figure out ways to get around it. That's the cool thing that I found about sequential art in general. If you go back in the history of the art form, every advancement, every growth in the art form has always come on the back of the previous person getting screwed. They either figure out how to get around, how to improve the system, how to evolve the system, and that next step in order to get this art form, this amazing, unique art form out into the audience and into people's hands. And here's the tough one: make a living at it. So, yeah, it's not that I'm such a great survivor as much as you get tenacious and you just decide that you're going to do this and you do it for the rest of your life. You take a look at all of these guys. We just had the great Joe Sinat pass just a few weeks ago. I'm sure he's that kind of person. He could have done advertising work. He could have done all sorts of fine illustration work if he wanted to. He didn't want to, because doing comics was what he loved doing, and that's what he kept doing. And I never plan on retiring. I'm gonna stay an old fart and stay in comics until I can't. It's that simple. It's the way it goes.
I rest my case.
Because there's just no way.
See, I rest my case.
There's nowhere else I want to be. That's the thing. So.
And you have to have done the things he's done and been around as long as he's been around to learn those lessons. Now you guys, see a lot of stuff. You guys now are learning. This man's telling you something. He's saying something. He's saying this. This is what I've learned in this amount of time.
I'm glad my camera's off. You keep making my face red. I'm telling you, it only gets red when I get really mad or really embarrassed, and it's red. So, and I ain't mad. But anyway.
Hey, have you seen that thing Dave Filoni put out?
Which thing?
It's about an hour long. He's talking about Star Wars, and he goes into the prequels, and he talks about the prequels.
Oh, no, that's a whole round table discussion. I thought they did one for like every Mandalorian episode, where he talks about the Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, that one. I saw that.
Yeah.
That is, man, phenomenal. You get it. You see why. You see the breakdown. You understand why the show, the Clone Wars and whatnot, is the way it is. You understand why it's
the cartoons are so amazing. Yeah,
correct. Why it seamlessly fits into why it's just, you immediately see that when he explains the prequels all the way through, like when he explains that through Return of the Jedi, and it's like it's like, wow. That's, you know what I mean? Like his breakdown of Qui-Gon essentially being the father and being struck down by Darth Maul, and then ties it back to Luke and Anakin and his. I mean, it's just like, you're like, and he basically says Star Wars is about family and hope.
Yeah,
that is what, you know what I mean? And you're like, and it's like, right? It's the lightsabers, the X-wings. It's like, yeah, that's all that's great, but there's this deeper internal connection that people want to be good, and people want to believe in good, and people want to believe in hope, and there's this, you know what I mean? And it's like, and it's like, that's it. That's it. And you see why Abrams and Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, it's like you're missing that element. You have the X-wings, you have the lightsabers, you have all this stuff, but you're mixing that heart element and that's why your shit's coming off flat. That's
Yeah, and
that's it.
it's real easy to do if you don't understand it. You know,
Correct.
and to swing that back into comics, comics is the same way. If you don't understand comics, you don't understand what you're doing here and the art form and how to perform it, then it's going to come across as bad and flat. Marvel. Anyway.
Exactly. I think that's a theme that runs through, a lot of
You
the
you go ahead. Sorry.
that it just runs through a lot of the industries to which we are, attracted to, and I think that's more than anything else. That's what we have been missing, or what we've been aware of, but not able to verbalize.
Right.
That there's something wrong here. And we don't, we have all these theories and all these different things, but there is something wrong. And without getting way on a tangent and whatnot, we need to do a public service announcement. I think that a public service announcement needs to be done as regular as possible about what gaslighting is. But I believe that we know there's something wrong, and we try to verbalize it. It comes out in wonky ways sometimes.
Yeah.
But then you get gaslit into this whole, well, no, that's not what it is. What it is your tastes and sensibilities are outdated because they're rooted in some oppressive goal, and you know what I mean? And all this stuff gets muddled down, and it's like, no, I don't think that's the case.
Really, it's the difference between like looking at a Van Gogh painting and looking at a paint by numbers painting. You can see the heart and soul in Van Gogh especially if you know what you're looking for, and how deep that gets, even though a lot of times it looks very simple. And in direct opposite to that, you can see the flatness and lackluster, no matter how well you paint a paint by numbers painting.
Well,
you are going to be able to see the difference.
I agree, and I don't. That's the thing. Sometimes I don't think I don't. I know what you're trying to say, and what I'm hearing is not necessarily that you see the difference, this is what makes it difficult, because if I could see the difference, I could necessarily point out certain things.
Yeah, you can feel the difference.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really what it is. It's that there is something that is, which makes it hard to, because it's subjective at first.
It's an art form. And it's
right.
very difficult to verbalize.
Correct.
Art.
It's subjective at 1st, right? But what happens is, and this is what I think is happening in culture right now, is enough people have now gotten together and shared their subjective experience and realized that there's an objective truth to that, because there's all these independent subjective things that are all saying the same thing. Well, and so that starts to build an objective truth that if you have all these people who are independently not connected, they're not connected, they're independent, they've come to the same conclusion over and over and over again, there has to be some objective truth to that.
Well, that's why it's so awesome and unique to be here working in comics now, working on crowdfunding or independent books, because a lot of that is you're getting a lot more personal vision. You can see in places, and granted, you still have your percentage of crap out there, but there are a lot of great books coming out there from a lot of great viewpoints that you would not see from a corporate standpoint.
No,
and that's what really adds to the uniqueness and the fun right now of this crowdfunding stuff, because you have artists out there doing their vision. Even if they're dragging in help to fill in, or where they know that their time is taken up too much, or their competency level in doing or performing a certain job is too weak, you're seeing a lot of very personal visions, a lot of very unique looks out there, as opposed to what you're getting right now on that mainstream. Let's go back to Mr. Varian. Are you awake?
Yes, this conversation is way too
deep.
Way too deep for the show.
You had to come in and lighten us up a little bit.
Yeah.
Come on, Varian. Well, I'm doing the very best I can. Damn it.
Let's go back.
Son of a bitch.
Let's go back to the comments. Glenn Ford says the artwork looks pretty good.
Thank you, Glenn.
Emily Hill says, Anthony, please include any social media links that you have for our follows and shout outs.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for reminding me. That's my slow New Orleans brain. That would be, yes, you can follow me on any social media. That would be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, LinkedIn. You can either look up Anthony Figaro or you can look up Kid Destructo. And you can find me on any of those, or you can go straight to kiddestructo.com, which is my website, and you can sign up there and send me messages and money or anything of those nature. Or you can go straight to the Indiegogo campaign, God's Hand, and you can get you a copy and a signature.
That's the way that you know.
But thank you, Emily.
Best way to go. Yeah.
I have a question, Anthony. Has there ever been like a Kid Destructo character you worked on?
No.
No.
Kid Destructo's
Yeah. Give me just a second here.
Kid Destructo's
okay,
I
got it copywritten. It's okay.
It's actually right. It's actually
we'll work it up.
It's actually a reputation. My parents gave me that reputation when I was a child, and it stuck with me all the way into the penal system.
Okay.
All the way through,
So we're not here to talk about our prison sentence.
New Orleans just basically, nurtured that side of me, and today it's like one of those, like an old gunslinger. He hangs his gun above the door. It's like the old moniker. I just hang it above the door. It's it's just there. You know what I mean?
Heather Tucker says, "Good morning, Heather. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Heather. Hope you're
doing well."
Heather. Brian Germain foolishly says, "Randy's my mentor. You can't have him." LOL. He also says, "Agreed. That's very smart. Whatever that was." Pacing yourself helps, I think. Absolutely. Brian's also turning into an old workhorse who's been around for a long time. So he's, he's kind of like me. It's in his blood. Brian just went for a tour of your Facebook page. Congratulations. Glenn Ford says, "Hey, Varian." Brian Jermaine says he just about choked on his soda. You having soda this early in the morning, buddy? What's up?
I am.
You ain't supposed to be drinking that soda, bro.
Yeah, don't be drinking that soda.
Yeah, I figured it's all downhill from here anyway. So.
Marv says, "I loved watching The Incredible Hulk. Still my favorite series of all time. The 60s Batman. I hate that show since I was a kid. Sorry, fans. I really am. I never understood what it was all about." Yeah. Marv, you have to go back and watch it from a campy sensibility.
I know.
That's all. I used to hate that show. Used to be really ashamed of it with the Biff Bow Bams, and then you get old enough to appreciate the campiness of it, and it's really classic theater.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm from the Marvy ideology of it. I love the Incredible Hulk. I loved it. Even to this day, if you play that ending, I start crying. When you just play the piano. I have to turn away. My children are like, "What are you doing? What's wrong, Daddy?"
What?
Like nothing.
Is that a tear?
Yeah. But
Daddy, are you crying?
Right. And I never did understand the Batman show, but when Randy says what he says, it's true. Like when I think about it from that standpoint, to watch it now, it would be to watch it for the ridiculousness of it. And I think you could enjoy it that way. I do.
I think that's all it was made for, to tell you the truth. And you get into those later series, especially once Batgirl shows up, and they are doing the cheapest things they possibly can in order to get their point across. I saw one where they had a boat that was just a little one of those big exhaust horns and a couple of crates and some ropes on a pole, and that's a ship. On stage, it gets really ridiculous the more you watch it. But I feel the same way about Miami Vice, especially the early seasons. Or not Miami Vice.
I was gonna say what?
CSI Miami. Miami Vice has its own set of camp. But you watch CSI Miami and what's his name, Horatio. He's a superhero. And he goes through and does the worst, campiest dialogues and entrances and exits and whips his glasses off at the most dramatic time. He's literally the Adam West of the 2000s. You know?
Nice.
You get those actors every once in a while that just chew scenery. He was one of them. So, and he did it very well. So, in fact, there's an entire set of openings for CSI Miami that is on YouTube that I can't watch without belly laughing. I mean, just splitting a gut. That goes all the way up to the Who screaming. You know, on the introduction. It's just hilarious. You have to watch it. Anyway, Pops Van Zant says, "Good morning, gents. Want to say happy birthday to my grandson, Isaac, and Jim O'Reilly. Jim O'Reilly, happy birthday, buddy."
Happy birthday.
Glenn says, "Hey, Pops." Marv says, "V is here. How are you feeling?"
I'm hanging in there. I woke up this morning with some new issues, but I let people know what was going on. I said there's a good chance I might not be on the show this morning. But in fact, Randy was like, "Hey, if you can't do it, I got it." But here I am.
All you had to do is send that picture.
Yeah.
And say I ain't making it. And I'm like,
okay. He's being nice. He's being nice. What happened was Varian was like, I'm in terrible shape. I can't be. Is Anthony on? Shit. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me get on here. Let me get on here, bro.
Send links. Yeah, that was it. You were getting too aesthetic. That's it.
Exactly. This is a kid destructor. He's trying to destroy shit again. Let me get on there and stop him.
Too philosophical. Emily's. What? Go ahead.
It was funny because I was laying there and I'm like, I'm gonna get on. I'll just be like a couple minutes late, and then I noticed it was 9:20, and then 9:25, and I'm like, yeah, I better get up. So I packed my arm and everything else, and I'm like, okay, packed my arm, put something on my neck, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit here, and so I'm hunched over the computer right now, and I'm here. Yay.
Good to have you, bro.
Emily Zelasco says, "Hello, Art looks fantastic."
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Pop says, "I got 6 years. We can discuss."
Oh, and the penal system. Yeah.
Gotcha.
We're not here to talk about that career, though.
No, I don't ever want. I just.
Glenn says he had a Jack and Coke, but you're not fooling us, Glenn. We know you're on a third shift schedule, so you're about to go to bed anyway. Pop says Bruce Lee, Kato, and only 2 episodes I have. Oh,
Batman?
Yeah. They had a crossover, a 2-part crossover with Green Hornet.
Yeah.
With Bruce Lee. And now looking back on it, if you look at those old Green Hornets, it's no wonder they called it the Kato show over in Hong Kong. Because he just runs circles around everybody, literally. It's crazy. Brian Germain, I ran out of alcohol, so I had to start with soda this morning. Just kidding. Coffee, still brewing. Okay. Ralph says Batman 60s loved the camera angles. As the series went on, yeah, they got pretty ingenious with what little budget they were given. So they'd the first couple of shows of every season was really big, and they brought Batgirl in with her bat bike and had to make her little hidden room and all this, and suddenly they didn't have much room for anything else. So
yeah,
they got by as best they could. So and of course Julie Newmar, Catwoman, yes. Absolutely.
Julie Newmar.
So they cast the villains great. Yes, they did. There was a while there where people were begging to be on the show. So, yeah. You sent me a picture of Mini-Me bleeding. Ooh, let's not go there. Mini-Me bleeding all over you.
That wasn't actually Mini-Me. That was the hydronitis from my arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over for her.
That's great breakfast talk.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. People are, here eating their bagels or having lunch like Marv would be, and it's like, at least we don't have a picture to show everybody.
No. I haven't uploaded that.
Oh, it's awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah. Anyway.
Since I just
Brian,
sent
just send a still and pretend your mic and your camera is messing up again. That's why everybody's off camera this morning. None of us look good. We all have faces for radio anyway, so it's all good. Can you see our number, Varian? Are you up? Did you crank up the radio?
I've actually opened it up. We're at 37,000 right now.
Smack,
37,400.
tunes.
Yeah.
Well, then waxing philosophically didn't hurt us too badly then.
No, not at all.
So all my people from Italy, they understand.
They understand. Marvy says it's weird not to see you. Bob says, seriously, Bruce stole that show. Yes, he did. That was a Green Hornet, the old Green Hornet with Van Williams. Silly plots, but some great action. You could tell Bruce was really outclassed everybody on that show. And you could actually see that some of the stuntmen thugs felt it too. So you could tell there were a couple of times that he was on the set that he was feeling like they needed to feel it. So nothing better than having a little whiskey before hitting the bed. Yes, Glenn, absolutely. Great setup. That's God's Hand over on Indiegogo.
I wanted to show something, and I know
Anthony Figueroa. Don't show us pictures of your.
No.
Oh no!
Because we know you're capable.
No, this is
we're man babies when it comes to that kind of stuff.
This is from Michael Oden getting ready to ship out God's Hand. Not God's Hand. I'm sorry. Elysian Fields.
We'd be able to be like, really?
He's working real hard. My next book is Kid Destructo.
Okay, all right. And here it is. He's got them all bagged and boxed, and he's got
Elysian Fields.
Mailers. Yeah, Elysian Fields.
Yep.
He's sending them all out together. He didn't want, except for the ones I guess he hand delivered.
Well, I hate to break it to him. They're all going to get to people at different dates, depending on how far away they are.
Yeah. But he got them all. He said that he plans on putting all the international ones in the mail at the end of the month. But these are all going out, I think, today or this weekend. But I just wanted to show everybody this is a first time creator. He's got the Gemini mailers.
Look at them Gemini mailers. They look so beautiful.
Yeah. They're going out. This is how you're supposed to do things. Not I don't have money for Gemini mailers.
Well, that's how you do things when you care.
Yeah.
No. You take it and you deal with that extra expense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I just thought that was I wanted to, show some props for that because that's what you're supposed to do. And first time creator, not making excuses, doing the right thing the first time. Kudos to Michael Oden.
Well,
there you go, brother.
Michael's also been around a little bit and listened to the podcast and talked to other people and other people who've done campaigns. So he knows how to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So take that advice. So, other than your wound and the wonderful God's Hand book, what else is happening?
I did get I did have 2 questions on Main Vote Radio. One of which is pretty out there. They're always out there.
We specialize in out there.
Yeah. This one, and then there's another one that's aimed toward me, and I'll read that one first. It says, Varian. I heard about your scanner. As a comic creator, I feel it's unethical for you to have one of those things. And you shouldn't be supporting piracy. Okay.
I think that's some of the same complaints that we hear about gun control.
Oh my goodness.
Here's the thing. I already have 2 scanners.
Sorry, we won't get political. But anyway.
I have 2 scanners. I have 2 scanners that are capable of doing the same thing without the curve flattening technology. I could though just buy a copy of a comic, slit the pages with a razor, and scan them all. I'm not a comic book pirate. In fact, the only comic book I ever downloaded was it was actually given to me. A friend of mine went and downloaded the entire Lex Luthor run from the late 90s or early 2000s, something like that. And he brought it over to my house. I check this out. You got to read this series. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what is this? And it was a Lex Luthor series. It was Superman from Lex's point of view. And it was I couldn't get into it. I could not get into reading on my computer.
Yeah.
Where my buddy had went and just when he realized he can download comics off of peer-to-peer services, he just went crazy.
Comicsahoy.com.
Yeah, I mean he was downloading me I've got every X-Men, I've got every Spider-Man. Now I had every Spider-Man. I bought a set. I bought a DVD set. Marvel released a set of from the first Spider-Man all the way up to basically that day, and you could download like a year's worth of issues, I believe, afterwards, purchasing the disc set. And I still have that disc set, and from time to time, if I need reference, I'll go back to it.
I bought the Masterworks. They look a lot prettier on a shelf.
Yeah, but so it's like I'm not a big fan of digital comics.
I even got Stan to sign them.
I don't have to worry about me, but it's unethical for me to own that scanner. I bought it for business because I felt that if I have to do reviews or I need to send someone to do reviews, if they tell me what panel to pull out for the review, it'll be a lot easier than taking my book, folding it, because these books, I don't know if you guys notice this, and you're not getting a lot of floppies now. You're getting trades. You're getting comics that are trade, square bound books. Putting those in a scanner, you can ruin it. Sometimes I don't get review copies. Sometimes the copies I get are copies I've had to pay for, and I like them to stay in as nice a condition as possible.
Yeah.
So you
need that curve flattening technology.
That's right. That scanner's gonna make it a lot more easier. Plus, I'll be honest with you, you're on the video's hot.
Well, we might pick on you a lot for getting the scanner in general because of the capabilities, but it's a tool just like everything else, and it's how you use that tool that
Yeah. Now
the results you get from using that tool that counts, not the fact that you have the tool.
Now the 4 that I'm going to buy afterwards for comicsahoy.com has nothing to do with my ethics, But,
that'll be comicsahoy.net.
Yeah, comicsahoy.net. Comics.
Comics ahoy.
But so that's why it's ethical. Number 2 question from Indie Boat Radio, and this is another one. It must be Ethics Day.
Time for me to sign off.
Well, Anthony, this might be right.
We're all running.
This might be right up your alley too.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
the ethics question, probably not.
Yeah, this is from Giorgio. Giorgio's from New York though, and Giorgio says, "Hey, I'm a writer from the '80s. I'm a street writer from the '80s.
Of course,
street writer."
I knew Randy was going to say. that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue, please.
I'm a street writer from the '80s. As you know, we don't buy our shit. Buying art supplies is for fools. I feel the same way now that I transition into illustration. I don't buy shit. I don't buy art supplies. I go in the store. I rack my shit. What happened to the artistic spirit? I see you guys out there buying $300, $400 worth of merchandise. Rack that shit. Show some balls. It's Giorgio from New York. Giorgio,
what's he saying? Steal it?
Yeah,
Sooner or later, racking that shit's gonna come back to haunt you.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying.
Might not be today. Might not be tomorrow, and you might think you're slick. You might know other people that might have gotten away with it for a while. It only takes once.
I see what he's saying because, and again, I hear what you're saying, man. But the problem with that is the street mentality. So if you ever want to leave the streets, you'll have to change that mentality. Otherwise, you'll always be a street writer. You'll always be in the streets. You can't, you know what I mean? At some point, if you want to. And I mean this with all due respect because I had to learn this lesson. It's like if you want to be an adult, you got to do adult shit. You know what I mean? If you want respect, you got to do respectable shit. You know what I mean? Like it's just the way it is. You can't keep ripping the system off. You can't live in two worlds like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, you can continue doing what you're doing, but you know as well as I do, if you've been on the street since the 80s, law of averages is going to catch your ass. And then what you going to do a bid for what? Stealing art supplies? And how many times you going to do a bid for stealing art supplies? And then it's going to get on your record, and then the people are going to know you a thief. And then your reputation for being a thief is going to get bigger than your reputation for being a writer.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to want to mess with you, man. And nobody's going to want to put no time and no money into you. And an old dude told me this too, because the idea is that nobody going to put no money into you if you ain't even going to put no money into yourself.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Glenn Ford's got to go to bed. Good night, Glenn.
Yeah, good night, Glenn. I do like that. Pops, it's like you can tell Randy and Pops. What's a street writer?
Oh, I knew what it meant.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, graffiti.
I was just gonna make a joke. Is that something like a ghostwriter?
Graffiti artists do not buy.
My favorite was Goddard Street.
Graffiti artists do not buy materials. Now, some graffiti artists have turned against that.
Yeah.
I know a few that buy their materials. Then there are some that
earlier said Glenn said don't trigger anyone this early.
So Pop says, what the fuck is a street writer? Oh, a vandal and a thief. Yeah. That's what a street writer is. Yeah. Good morning,
Brian Langley says good morning, comic friends.
Emily Hill says street writer, that's rich.
The coffee is hot and so are our conversations. Yeah. What Anthony said, absolutely.
Yeah, Anthony's right on. The law of averages is going to catch up with you. You're going to end up doing time for art supplies. I mean, it's going to be really hard down the yard. What you in for, man? Man, I stole some Copics.
Well, you lie about
Bristol
that
paper, man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, and this is my thing. And let me take another stab at this like this. If you're a street artist and it's part of your reputation, right? Because you don't want to look like a chump buying art supplies because everybody else is stealing theirs, then let me assume then that you're trying to build a reputation, right? So you're trying to build a reputation as what? As a street artist, and so you have to play a role, and you're doing all of this essentially for what? To get noticed, right? And then what? That's what you try. I mean, are you trying to make a career out of this? You trying to make something out of this? Because let me tell you what I learned out of this, and this is what I learned from the streets is, why don't you just skip all that shit and learn how to monetize your shit now? Figure out a different way. Be a real rebel. Figure out how to subvert the system and monetize the shit now. And just skip all this nonsense of street reputation and all of this bullshit, because I'm telling you, you run the risk of being an old, burnt out, nickel and dime thief, right? That's what you run the risk of. Put your wares out there now. Go sell them. Figure out how to get them into galleries. Figure out how to make your money now. Monetize it. I mean, that's the way, man. Use your ingenuity to figure out how to skip the system, skip all this nonsense, and get straight into making money.
Pop says maybe we should talk about prison. So some of these dumbasses need an education. That's what we're here to do. So Emily says Glenn Ford, a street writer, is a heist artist for art supplies. Yeah, basically. Pop says, I knew some that even ask to print in certain places. What?
Yeah, some of the graffiti artists ask you, can they paint there?
Oh, yeah. Some of them get invited just because they know that the wall that the mural is on won't get vandalized, because people respect, or vandals usually respect artists. Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, The Devil's Advocate, Cancel Culture versus Accountability to the Industry. Yeah, we'll go through that at the end of the cast here. Okay, kids, nice meeting you, following you. Catch you next time.
Thank you, Emily.
Emily's
Thank
leaving.
you, Emily.
Emily Hill.
Yes.
Emily Hill. Don't forget, we are archived at the Indie Volt channel on YouTube. So please swing over there and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and enjoy our older shows where you can always point and laugh. We're also on Indie Volt Radio, right?
Yep.
And the Indie Volt TV has them available for streaming. Am I right?
Yep. If you have a Roku or Roku-enabled device.
Yep. Okay. A Street Writer 2 Turbo Championship Edition is a good game. Eric says, Pop says, if you have a reputation, you should be able to approach someone and ask to paint on that wall. Quit stealing.
Oh, well, you know what? Just before we go to that next question, the stealing thing. Now, I would imagine that came out of the fact that a lot of graffiti artists were young kids. I know at one point. The graffiti, the spray paint was you couldn't buy it unless you were a certain age.
It might have come up out of your curve flattening technology.
But like a lot of them, they couldn't afford to paint, so they would go in there because they had to have all these colors.
Yeah,
and then they had to ditch them, to run from cops. So they weren't out there, dropping $60-$70 on spray paint. So they just figured if them and their boys could go in there, hey man, you grab some green, I'll grab blue and red. He grabs the white and silver. We should be good. Mm-hmm. And then they go out there and they go with that in the day. I mean, you guys ever spray paint a fence? you go through a couple cans. So I can imagine. I mean, I understand how quick they went, but that's where the thievery, I believe, came from. And then just kind of became part of the graffiti culture. I just think that there are graffiti artists, and some of them, and I know a lot of them, they buy their stuff now. I mean, and the thing is, companies have monetized, they got different kind of caps now for artists. Yeah. Hey, you can use this cap. I got some.
You goddamn graffiti vandal! Knew it. Knew it.
Well, hey, don't be mistaken. A lot of that street art heralds back to the early '60s underground comics, especially when it comes to the bubble lettering that you see on a lot of the street cars. Or a lot of the train cars. A lot of that can be pointed right back to Vaughn Baudet, Junk Waffle, and Cheech Wizard.
But what's it going to get you in comics? You gonna come sit down next to Anthony. You sit down next to Anthony and Wizard at some show in New Orleans, and you're like, "Hey, Anthony, hey man, see all this art? See these Copics, bro? I don't pay for them. What do you say? I rack these shit straight out of Michael's, yo." First of all, Anthony's gonna be like, "What the fuck, man?" That's like somebody coming next to you and sitting there saying, "Hey, man, I didn't pay for this table. I just pulled up a seat and took it."
You know why that rapidograph cost you $50?
Yeah,
I stole these out of Michael's.
Right.
Oh, all of a sudden the price on rapidographs goes up another $5. Thanks.
Yeah.
No one's gonna take you seriously if you talking like that.
Yeah. One last question from Indie Vote Radio.
Not just that, but get big enough, be a corporate sponsor. Because even I know the Toth sisters, Lane and Perry, they got sponsored. They got all their shit for free anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
All I had to do was wear a hat at a show, and tell people what equipment they used.
That's what I'm saying. There's smart ways. Use your ingenuity to figure out how to get yours without having to go through all of this, risking your freedom and your reputation. It don't make no sense.
Yep.
If it don't make money, it don't make no sense.
Yeah.
Brian Germain says, I'm sorry, Randy, go ahead.
No, Brian Germain says, I love being able to buy my art supplies, and I don't long for the days when I had to get them other ways. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pop says, psst, hey, kid, what do you need? I got the goods. Pens, man, markers. You need some of that 2-ply Bristol board?
Yeah,
I got that shit right here, man.
Next thing you know, you're getting chloroform.
I got to buy the pad.
That's how that shit starts.
Yeah, now you're waking back up a van. Don't know what's going on.
What I mean? Exactly.
You need this ink that's true black, man. This is the way. Look, no smear,
Randy, you sound like
shine.
you've done this before. I don't know.
We did have an artist run around asking people what color of ink they use.
Nice.
Done it all, Anthony. One point or another. Done it all. I had my own running ink bottle that I used to use whatever scrap ink I can get my hands on. Sometimes it was even a couple of drops of water in there just so you had to mix it up,
No, it's
Had,
we
had to keep
Go ahead.
taking your white out and microwaving it in order to get it with water in order to get it to loosen up so that you could actually apply it to the board. Yeah, I've been there.
Boom. See what I mean? Proving
Yeah.
my point. Proving my point. These are lessons to which you can only learn by people who have been through the muck, been through it, have the whiteout scars all over them and stuff, have the ink scars on them and stuff like that.
Put
There you
your,
go, man.
the water that you clean your ink brushes right next to your coffee and drank the wrong cup. Done that before.
Boom. Boom. You got that's a requisite. Like you have to do that. That's how you survive the Flint water thing.
Spit
You drink enough
taked
of
all
that-
over the art
you,
too.
You drink enough of that coffee ink shit, it just coats your insides, man.
Done it.
You know.
Done it. Yeah. Yeah. Done it.
From Indievo Radio, this one is from Melissa, and she wants to know. She says she's been red pilled.
She's been Renfield.
She's been red pilled.
Oh, red pill.
She's been red pilled. She says she has realized the BS behind a lot of the social agendas going on in comics right now. As her art, she posted her art and under a male name, and it was torn apart by females unnecessarily. So she posted the same art 2 months later under her real name, and she was championed.
Welcome to the revolution. Give me a call. It's called Comicsgate. Call me up.
That red pill is a real good one.
Yeah.
So yeah. What more can we say? Yeah. There's a duplicity running in certain circles. Certain people don't want to be educated.
Sure.
Certain people, can't grasp context or history or.
What's her name?
Melissa. She didn't put a last name.
Okay, Melissa.
Obviously a nom de plume.
I tell you what, Melissa, find me on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram, Kid Destructo, and I'll introduce you to a community that doesn't put up with all of that nonsense. Now I'll hook you up and I'll put you right in the pipeline. It's called Comicsgate. That's a real offer. I know Randy's laughing, but that's a real offer. Again, that's where
you're offering. You're offering to be a mentor.
It depends. I'm offering to be a middleman. I'll introduce you to some good people in a community that will help you get where you need to go. I know it sounds terrible, but it's on the up and up. Thank you. I appreciate all this.
Pills. Pop says pills. Who's got pills?
Pop, they talking about them red pills. They talking about them red birds from back in the day, aka Seconals. Yeah. They talking about them Seconals, them lilies.
Larry says, "Word up, homies." Ryan Germain says, "Kudos to her for trying that experiment."
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is now, Melissa, I recommend you tell everybody. Don't be afraid. Go out there and point this out. The duplicity absolutely needs to be pointed at and laughed, and the weirdos need an education.
1,000%.
You're in a very unique position right now. In order to do a little educating, I thoroughly encourage you to do that. And though you'll take a little heat for it, so everybody will resent you. Well, why'd you use a male name in the first place?
So,
because they'll try to turn it back on you, but it's really their own stupidity.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why at the end of it, when you tweet it out, you put #Comicsgate. Boom. Done.
Yeah. Okay, that's that's weird, man. You get your art. I've never had my art complained about online. Usually, Randy does it to my face.
Only when you ask me.
Yeah, only when.
And even then, holy crap! I didn't mean to put you off for 2.5 years. You got to finish that book, buddy.
Yeah, it was like it's like usually.
If I'd have known what I was doing, I'd have probably done it a little lighter. Obviously, that you're still not over the shock.
Yeah. I was like, man, I can't do this. I can't do this. Let's see here. Dreaded Dinosaur says, I got a guy off a line on some burnt sienna. Who's in?
Oh, my goodness. There you go.
Benny's jackets up, down, dots, sideways. Lola says, good morning, everyone. Royalty has arrived. Had to get my beauty sleep in first. Good morning, Lola.
Yeah, she had she was awakened this morning by me and the kid freaking out that I was bleeding, so she had to come help with that. But they show her right to bed. So yeah, you'll be fine. If you bleed out, your insurance is paid up. So
You need to talk. Pop
Sweet.
says you need to talk to Mindy Wheeler. I'll get her on the show if you want.
Mindy Wheeler.
Mindy Wheeler?
That name sounds familiar.
Like to get Mandy Summers on the show.
Mindy Wheeler.
Mindy Wheeler.
Speaking of on the show, Lola says, Mr. Figaro, she says, you've been commissioned for a piece. You should be on the show.
I know.
She's
I
like,
schedule that ahead of time.
I think he's doing me a favor standing in tonight. I'm standing in for my, standing in for me, because otherwise Randy had been talking to the air.
Well, I sent a few other invitations out, just nobody else has picked up on it. So, I'm starting to. It's starting to worry me.
Brian says, I've never been sensitive enough to think art shouldn't evoke emotion in some type, even if it's a bad emotion. I think art should be should get you some type of emotion. It should be triggering. Maybe not art in a comic though. You think art in a comic book should be triggering?
Some of the comics are art, dude. Most of them are art.
Well, yeah, but you think
there's some real garbage out there lately? Marvel. Anyway, there's garbage in every art form. Comics in general are an art form. Yes.
I think is in whatever you do, and again, because it's a broad question, but I mean, whatever you do, there should be craft behind what you're doing. If you're doing triggering art just because you're trying to cover up for the fact that you can't draw well, or you can't write well, or you don't have good subject matter, then no, I'm not for that. You know what I mean? But if it's well placed, if there's a craft behind what you're doing, as a writer, you write things in a story, and sometimes you put things in there, but they're plot devices. They're made to further the story. They're made to further the point. They're intentionally placed to better what you're doing, because you're making a statement, but you want to make it in this art form, in this way. So if it does, it does. You know what I mean? As long as there's an actual craft point behind it, I think the idea of making triggering art just to do it, just to make a name for yourself because you can't make it any other way. I think that
intentionally subverting expectations is ridiculous. And honestly shouldn't happen, especially with long running IPs. And the editor,
I agree with that.
The editor up there running that IP, or hopefully safeguarding that IP, should know better. Like, for example, Episode 8 of Star Wars should have never happened. And there's been big talk now that they're going to retrofit it and make it not happen.
Yep.
Having Captain America suddenly turn into a Nazi or a Hydra agent should have never happened. And the editor up there should have known better. But no respect, for the IP, or you get the okay from their upper executive who thinks it might be funny. We'll get some sales off of this. Right. Utterly ridiculous, because they'll pay for it in the long run, just like they have. So. Look at what's happened to Star Wars since Episode 8. Look at what's happened to Marvel and Captain America since... Well, anyway. Some people do shock art, which is fine, but moving someone with your comics art is very rewarding. Well, moving somebody, making them think, absolutely. All good art should invoke some sort of emotion. It's just, what emotion do you really want to invoke? Do you want to do quality, or do you want to... do garbage and basically be in the crap pile.
That's it. Do you want to be? Yeah. Is it novelty? Are you doing novelty? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I agree with you on that, Rand.
Well, there's a difference between novelty too and garbage. I mean, some stuff can be done rather cleverly. Look at the old 50s and 60s DC stories they used to do all the time that were imaginary tales. Look at all the Elseworlds books that DC has kicked off. There's some stuff that they would never allow that to happen to their IP, but they're able to label it as an ultraverse or a Elseworlds or a multiverse type story, and play with it and see how it goes.
Yeah. Randy, I don't know. Did you get a chance to talk about the Allegiance art situation?
No,
Okay.
no.
Did you want to talk about that? I know we said we were going to talk about it Thursday, but do you
Well,
want to say it for Tuesday?
I I don't know. We really don't have anybody here. If we could get somebody from Allegiance
Okay.
on here to talk about it, man, I would love to interview Mitch for a couple hours
Well, I didn't.
just
I
to
didn't
see
get to say,
how it's going.
I didn't get a chance to talk about what had happened to me, so I guess I can talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
But with the Allegiance Art situation, everybody knows that Allegiance Art has their books in Walmarts across the country, 3,400 stores
Mm-hmm.
or so. And their books come out, I think it's like bi-monthly. Well,
No, right now I believe they're quarterly.
okay, well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's quarterly because we got the first ones in
April, May,
April.
June, July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
3 months.
so we got it was well documented that the books would be out in
July.
July, and on what date. So I waited a day and day after, and I went to Walmart, and I'm looking for the books, and the old display is there. You go to a salesperson, and you're like, "Hey, Allegiance Arts books. I'm not seeing the new issues out there." And I get this slack jawed look. Yeah. No, we can't put them out to the old and sell out. And I'm like, what? Like that's not how this works. These aren't action figures or periodicals. I mean, I guess they are periodicals, but they're not like that.
No.
But
they are like magazines that the new issue comes out every 2 or 3 months, and the old issues need to either be put on the new issues could even be put in front of those.
Yeah. And they're like, no, we can't bring the new ones out until the old ones sell out. And I'm like, what? Like they don't understand. And what I realize is that, look, here's the problem. I know that every Walmart has a different store manager, and that's a lot of people to manage.
Yeah.
And there are people who are just there for the paycheck. Like, that's it. They're just there to put cans of Dr. Pepper on the shelf, and that's it. You can't talk to them. You can't. I've worked with people like that. When I worked at Toys R Us, there were guys there who the boss loved because they were worker ants, but they didn't know where anything in the store went. But you can tell them, hey, put those 4 boxes in, the highest shelf you can in aisle 8, and they could do that, no problem. But when you said open that box up and find 7 dolls in a purple dress and make sure they're out, they couldn't do that, huh? So now we got workers who don't understand how these comics are supposed to go out. So my experience was the comics aren't. We have them, but we can't put them out. And it was interesting that the Allegiance Arts just posted a article of a status update saying, if that happens, I speak to the department manager because they're supposed to be getting those books out to the shelves.
Yeah.
Randy.
Yeah.
I know we can go into depth with this Tuesday if we can get somebody from Allegiance on, but that's detrimental to a company if your
product is not put out on time.
Yeah. If your partner is not putting your book out on time, imagine if when Diamond doesn't ship on time, it's detrimental to the business. Yep. So when Walmart isn't putting those books out.
Well, and again, it's a matter of educating their managers, who it's probably very difficult to educate. The thing I keep saying with the Allegiance books is that you're dealing with an incredibly large box chain, and you're also at the same time with managers, of like you said, that might not have they probably don't have a degree or have a whole lot of experience in what they're doing. Plus, on top of that, they're right now they're having to deal with all of these extra problems because of the beer bug numbers and all the restrictions that go. Can we do this? Can't we do that? And there was a period there, especially in this state, where there was only certain areas you were allowed to go. You had to section off certain areas right as these allegiance books were coming out. So it's a matter of education, just like most everything else, educating these managers and their employees as to how it works. And a lot of these employees also and managers don't deal with magazines because they have a separate distributor representative that'll come in and merchandise that shelf for them. So they just flat out don't know, on top of flat out not caring or not being, especially not being paid to care. Because it's not like they're getting paid a lot to do it. They're just looking at a box going, or a box in the back room going, oh, it's an Allegiance Art stuff. We still have Allegiance Art stuff out on the shelf. I'm not going to put those out until the other ones sell. So not realizing that there's a continuity issue here, and the fact that if they were to put those second issues out, it would probably help them sell the first issue as well. So.
I want
Agreed.
my books on the shelf now.
But no, what Mitch said is right. If you see that problem with your store, ask to speak to that manager. Make it a point to interrupt his day and tell him this is how this stuff's supposed to be merchandised. I realize you haven't dealt with periodicals very much because around here, at least in this state, we've got Ludington Daily News that runs around that's incredibly connected. If you catch my drift. So there's only certain areas on the rack that are allowed for certain things. That's why Allegiance has its own point of purchase display, is because it's different from that set of magazines from their main magazine rack. It's not just there to point out the fact that, hey, these are new funny books. It's the fact that to everybody at Walmart, this is a whole new animal for them. They honestly don't know how to merchandise it. Some of these people don't read those memos or the instruction sheets when they put the display up as to how to merchandise that. So they have to be reminded. And yeah, interrupt a manager's day and say, hey, you need to put these number 2s out because that's going to help sell your number 1s.
Yeah, or some of them can't read the memos either.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. Brian says some people do shock art, which is fine, but moving someone with your comics art is very rewarding. Pop says Mindy Willer got canceled, made a comeback. Marv says no agendas and respect for the reader. Brian then said, I agree with you guys. Comics doesn't really need a Howard Stern of comics, in my honest opinion. I mean, there might be a place for that, but I'm not going to be that guy. Dreaded Dinosaur says he found the books at the 94 Hall Road store, issue 2 side by side, issue 1.
There
and
you go.
They got a manager down there who knows what's going on. Hopefully
Exactly.
they can sticker them.
Yep.
Buddy Lore in the chat says Mindy Wheeler, who canceled her? And also says, so they couldn't do things of autonomy. Comic Book Advocate says, pass me that article via messenger. I'll do a special report about it if we don't do the news today.
Rob Anthony says, when I worked for Best Buy, there was a time where they carried magazines and occasionally comics, and there was a third party solely dedicated to taking care of rotating the stock every month when it came in. I don't know if they have a contract like that at Walmart, but you can contact that company and they will correct it immediately. For us, it was Mosaic, and they were on point. Well, I think one of the things with the Allegiance art books is that they are removed from that deal, from those magazine merchandisers. So literally the managers and the store sales associates, this is a whole new animal for them. So they need to be told that those 2s need to come out. There are 4 shelves on that point of purchase display at the Allegiance Arts. They can always put the number 1s on the bottom shelf if they need to, and the 3 most recent books up on top. There's plenty of space in that pop-up display for them to do that. They just have to be told to do it. That's all. Sometimes you just got to get people educated.
Yeah,
I'll get her on the store. Yeah.
Pop, are you sharing, Randy? Are you sharing art that you want to show, or
Pardon?
are you sharing art that you want to show? I see you sharing the screen, and I see art on the screen. I didn't know if you want to share that or.
Oh no, I'm not sharing. I just looked up Mindy Wheeler. That's all.
Okay.
I don't know everybody.
So Anthony, your campaign is you're in the final days now. How does it feel?
Anthony, are you still with us? You might have fallen asleep.
And I demand to know if he's using Gemini mailers. I heard earlier he's using pizza boxes.
Well, I think he's away from the camera at the moment because his microphone's off. So we were talking about allegiance.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I had to take a piss.
Not a problem, but
All right, Varian, you were saying something about being in the final stages.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about
Your
campaign or
we talked to him about that earlier.
cancer?
Yeah.
What are you talking?
Your book, but I just got told that I just got standards and practices in my ear. I said I was wondering where you send them out in Gemini mailers. I said I hear that you might be using pizza boxes. Standards and practices in my ear. I mean, that's a racist comment, and I apologize.
Is it?
Hey, Varian, when do you want Mindy on the show?
Let's get it for Tuesday if we can.
Pops is talking to her husband right now.
Yeah,
Tuesday would be good. Pops, Tuesday evening, 9 p.m. Have her get a hold of Varian, or have them get a hold of Varian. We appreciate you talking to them for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So Randy, that was a racist question. I mean, that was a racist statement. I apologize, Anthony. I just made pizza box comment because that's what
Brian Germain says nonsense. People don't piss in real life.
After one of Randy's books came in.
A pizza box?
Yeah.
That's messed. What kind of pizza box? That's the real question.
Are you talking code?
The Bigfoot Bill book came in like a pizza box.
Oh, I thought you were talking code. We were political again. What's going on?
No.
What you talking about? Pizzagate? What you talking?
No, the Bigfoot Bill book.
Okay,
came
thanks,
in a big,
Pops.
huge like box and like a
Yes,
pizza
it did.
box.
So did the Earthworm Jim book.
Yeah, and I thought
Came in a large cow box. Yeah.
So I made a joke about you sending out a pizza, the guy in a pizza box, and then someone looking to cause trouble, aka Lola, said that's racist. It's because we're Italian. You made that pizza joke, and it's like what? So no, it's
one of the upcoming campaigns that I bought into. I'm hoping will come in a chicken.
What happened to Nick Cannon?
We removed from my own show. Indie Vote Part 3 is very like, how is this?
Exactly.
Brian says, dude, I sense a great TMNT promotional.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday or Thursday, whatever's convenient for them, Pops. Tuesday night, Thursday morning, it's all good. Whatever's good for them.
So you're in the final stages of that of your campaign. Are you are you near completion, or you need a couple more? Are you going to be late, or you come in on time? What's going on?
He's looking at mid-August.
I'm looking at mid-August to go to print. Latest that it would be mid-September. That would be late.
Hey guys. Hey everybody. Hey Mark, how you doing?
Morning.
Pretty good. How you doing?
Joining us now is Mark Bloodworth. Mark, can you introduce yourself?
Hey guys. Hey Mark,
and he's on delay.
Pretty good. How you doing? Joining us now is Mark Bloodworth. Mark, can you introduce yourself? Yeah, I'm Mark Bloodworth. I'm an artist. Did some comic book work.
So yeah, you're listening to us on the actual YouTube while we can hear you in here.
Yeah, you might want to shut your YouTube off.
Yeah. If you turn your YouTube down, it'll be a lot. You might be
there. We go.
Yeah.
That's better.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you great, man.
Awesome. Good. Hey, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming.
Oh, not a problem. I would have been here earlier, but you hit me up on a day when I was busy doing a bunch of work around the house, so I didn't see your message until just a little while ago.
Oh well, we're glad you're here, even though we're only going to be on for like another 15 minutes. But
that's fine.
It's all good. We're happy to have you on board. Mark is give him more of your resume. Mark? We have a lot of people listening on the radio, so
Oh, I don't know.
don't be afraid. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to I started with Arrow Comics. Did a book called Night Streets. After that, moved over to Caliber. Worked on Dead World for a while. Worked on Hellraiser over at Marvel Epic for about a year or so. And then did stuff off and on with different publishers through the ensuing couple of decades. And last thing I did was probably, I think, Gore Shriek Resurrectus with Buffhouse. I think it was the last thing I've done.
A lot of commercial work, a lot of freelance work.
Oh, yeah. Commercial work and freelance work in between.
Yeah.
Working for different agencies and storyboarding and stuff like that.
Sure. Happy to have you aboard, man. Thanks for coming.
Well, glad to be here.
Absolutely.
And now we're big time. We got Marcus. Now we got to stop.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
yeah. You just made Randy and Anthony feel so good.
Yeah, there we are. Brian
Randy's
says
been with me since almost day one.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
I show up out of the blue for 10 minutes. You throw Randy under the bus. I see.
There you go.
Terrible.
I'm used to it.
That's usually what
After
happens.
the pizza box comments, I mean,
Yeah.
there's basically a greasy Italian pizza maker over here.
It's okay, Anthony. You want to get back at him? Just ask him who Vaughn Baudet is.
Yeah.
You mean Varian? Yeah, ask Varian who Vaughn Baudet is. Yeah.
Varian?
I heard they mentioned him in a movie once.
Yeah.
Not saying Claude Monet. That's not what he said.
Vanessa Monet? What?
Mark Varian is so young, I had to explain to him who Wally Wood is.
Yeah.
You're gonna do a show about indie comics. You don't know who Wally Wood is?
I remember I posted a comment. I said if it was something about like if they said that you were the Andy Warhol of comics, how would you feel about that? And there wasn't a comic artist in that subject didn't feel offended. Like I would sue the paper. How dare they call me the Andy Warhol of anything? And so I was like, oh, I thought Andy Warhol was beloved. Apparently.
Andy Warhol was best at being Andy Warhol.
Right.
Could be worse. You could be the Liechtenstein of
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah, you got that. You got that right.
Yeah. I was educated on Liechtenstein and what he did by Randy, and it was one of those long 2-hour lectures that he gives me. Look at this.
I get along with it.
That's what you should broadcast on a day like you don't feel like doing a broadcast. You should have recorded Randy schooling you on something and just put that up.
Yeah.
Everyone's entertainment.
Yeah.
There it is, baby.
Yeah, you just hear me. And look at this, you little young punk. Look.
Yeah. Let me pull up my soapbox here.
Yeah.
We'll talk for
Can
a
you
while.
smell the newsprint? Can you smell it?
Exactly. You pick it up right in the middle. Yeah.
I mean, instead of the Smell the Glove Spinal Tap album, it'll be the Indie Volts Smell the Newsprint album.
Yeah. Plug Ripper Legacy.
Brian Germain says, plug Ripper Legacy.
Oh, yeah. That was a book from Caliber called The Ripper Legacy, and that was
Don't date yourself.
20 years ago.
You have to. Yeah.
And that was part of Gary Reed's, what were they called? The Raven Chronicles. It was like a one-shot of his Raven Chronicles characters, which was basically like the X-Files, only a group of people instead of just two.
Well remembered by Brian Germain.
Well, apparently, yes.
Yes. Ralph Griffith says Bloodworth in the house.
Yeah, how come Ralph isn't here?
Ralph doesn't want
he
to
needs
come
the
on.
equipment. Yeah, he doesn't want to come on.
Yeah,
Just
What,
like
he's got,
Jason.
Compact
Jason.
or something? What is that?
Everybody has an invitation to come on. They just have to get the equipment to be able to do it.
Oh.
That and the gumption, not everybody can speak to people all the time, apparently. So,
I was going to say, as my dad would say, it's all in the motivation, son. It's all in the motivation.
I was going to make because I got some microphones for the for conventions, and I bought a bunch of them because I figured, well, the microphones they're from Sharper Image, and I could go to one store and find them for $5, or I can go to the other store and find them for $20. So I figured, well, I'm gonna buy the $5 ones. It's the same mic. It's just the stores had them at drastically different prices, and they're from Sharper Image. So I bought a bunch of them, and then I was in Five Below, and for some reason, and they had webcams, very very bad webcams. Not they weren't bad, but they're like they're at least like 13-year-old technology. Like they could be a lot better, but
little gophers on tracks running the motorized. Yeah.
But they'll do in a pinch, and I bought some of those just because if something ever happens and I need a webcam and none of mine are working, and I thought we should send out Indie Volt stream care packages. Oh, you can't stream? Here's a webcam. Here's a microphone. It costs us $10.
Can I get a Yeti? Can you send me a Yeti?
No, we don't have not sending Yetis.
Got that pizza box coming. I'm like, oh, I didn't make up for it, but shit.
Milk it, Anthony. Milk it.
I will. That's what my people are. We can do this type of stuff. We know how to milk the system. Let me wet my beak over here.
Mark, did you hear the comment about the art supplies? The question we had?
No, he said he just came on.
Yeah, that might have been before I got in here. Yeah.
Well, there was a gentleman who was saying that he's a street writer. He does graffiti, and he said that graffiti artists, they don't buy their supplies, and now that he's transitioned over to being the illustrator making indie comics, he hasn't stopped racking, quote unquote, his supplies, and we all kind of laid into him about it, but stealing art supplies. Now listen, it's a lot different from me looking over there and saying, hey, Anthony's got some really nice Copics that I don't have. And taking my
Copics, yeah, I understand. Those things are ridiculously expensive. But if all you want to do is make a comic book, $20 and 20 minutes in a dollar store, if you can't find stuff you need to make a comic book, then you just don't know how to make a comic book.
Yeah. Comic Artist Pro Secrets has a great video where he goes through a Michael's and buys absolutely everything that you need to put a whole comic book together.
Yeah, exactly.
For under $100.
Exactly. And seriously, I mean, if you can't even afford 20 minutes, $20, dollar store. If you can't come out of there with the supplies to make a comic book, then I'm sorry, you just don't know how to make you're not really wanting to make a comic book. You just want to have like some sort of style about you, Right.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
However, maybe don't buy your shipping supplies from the dollar store.
Yeah, well, no, you wouldn't want to do that.
No, you can go behind Domino's and get pizza boxes.
Exactly.
You don't even worry about that.
Buddy Lord says, holy crap, I remember buying the worst micro steam cleaner ever from there once.
From Sharper Image. Yeah.
From Sharper Image.
Yeah.
Ralph says, Varian, have you done Indie Volt live from the convention shows?
We haven't set up a table, but I have had Eric and Josh at conventions before everything went to hell.
Kind of live reports, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that.
Well, if everything goes correctly, we might be doing that again before the end of the year. We might be setting up and doing a live version of Indie Volt from a major convention.
Yeah.
It all depends on, this beer bug and whether or not we get to do it at the show or not. So
yeah.
If the show is on, then we'll be on. You'll know that. Just stay tuned to Indie Volt. Yeah, Mark, we are really closing in towards the end of the show. Is there anything that you have that you want to promote? Anything that of your stuff that people can buy?
Oh, well, they go over to my Facebook. There's a link for Fester Comics, which is doing a one-shot of Midnight Mortuary, but it's in Spanish. So you either can read Spanish and this is gonna be great, or it's like I'm just gonna be pretentious and order it, and then I can just show it to people and say, oh, it's in Spanish. So that's about it. And really, I'm not even doing that to promote myself, just to promote Fester Comics because they're doing this because I don't know, they just needed something to print. I guess I don't know.
Have you listened to Indie Volt before?
Yeah, I have a couple of times. Yeah.
Then you know we have a worldwide range.
Yeah, so the people
Well,
in
that's
Mexico.
true.
Yeah.
So
So
there should
yeah,
be some people that out there that would say, "Oh yeah,
yeah.
Um,
Varian, what's our number right now?
right now, Randy, we are at 51,610 people listening. And and it's cool because
Still in a
Mexico is on
state.
the list of people. So hey, pick up that book, or
Yeah.
Spain.
yeah." And I think they're limiting it to only 100 copies. So you
Ooh.
got to get in there, get them while you can. So
And,
Yeah.
and that was Fester Comics.
Fester, yeah, Fester, Fester Comics, or they may be Fester Enterprises. But like I said, if you go to my Facebook page, and you'll know it's mine because you'll see that Varian and Randy are there, and I've got it in my feed there in the timeline. So there's a link and everything. So, but it's basically just reprinting 2 stories from the Midnight Mortuary book I did back in the early 2000s through Caliber, and and the only reason I did it was because it was going to be translated, and I figured, oh, that'll be nice. It'll go well with the Spanish version of Dead World de la Siesta. So,
Cool.
yeah.
And also, Anthony, you have God's Hand available on Indiegogo.
Yes, sir. God's Sand available on Indiegogo right now. You can go over there to Indiegogo and look up God's Hand, and then check out the perks down there and pick one of those perks. I have a standard signature series, or I also have a international signature series, which you can get. We have the Varian Andy Kuhn exclusive, and we have the, or you can get the triple elite and get all 3: the standard, the Indiegogo exclusive, and the Varian cover by Andy Kuhn. Either one of those. You can also reach me on any of the social media platforms. You can find me either by Anthony Figaro, Figaro, or by Kid Destructo, which used to be my old prison name. You can find me by that as well.
Mark, real quick, is there any place that people can get a hold of you other than Facebook?
I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Under Mark Bloodworth?
Yeah, or Bloodworth 19, Mark Bloodworth 1963 or something like that. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Is that it, Varian? Do you want to give your brand talks, or do you want me to do it?
You can do it, sir. You go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Indie Volt is available on Indie Volt Radio at indievolt.com. You can listen now on Google Play and the Streama app. You can actually ask Alexa to play Indie Volt Radio, and when we're not on there talking comics, you get some great indie music to listen to. He promises no Roger Whittaker or Barry Manilow. He's also available on the Indie Volt TV on the Roku. So right there with those other channels, you can get the app and watch Indie Volt TV, where you can stream our shows as well as some great independent movies. Get some popcorn. We're always available for your comments and emails at indievoltlive@indievolt.com. Please include Indie Volt Live in your subject so that we know to concentrate that on the podcast. Please keep your emails to 90 words or less so Varian can type it all on a nice card for us to read from on the show. And remember, don't be afraid to send us your question regarding comics, media, genre media, or anything to do with that, because we love to talk about different subjects. We would love to discuss your problem. And remember, our feedback will be better because of your setback. Hashtag get an education. Hashtag Indie Volt. So don't be afraid to send those emails in. So I want to say thank you so much to everybody out there listening to us on Indie Volt Radio all around the world. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we will be back again. Our next show will be The Art of War. That'll be coming up, done by the great Eric Hodson, who will have a group of artists together to draw for a couple hours from a really bizarre or cool topic. And all of the artists all work for a gift card. So we're the only art stream that actually has a reward to the artist and allows you to vote for your favorite. So the the winner will get that gift card. Go ahead.
And sometimes it's a physical. Like last week, it was a pack of Eon art boards. So you don't have to steal art. You don't have to steal art material at that point.
All
So
sorts of different
You
things.
can compete and win.
Yep.
Also Saturday at 9, Randy, the Devil's Advocate.
Yep.
This week he's going to talk about cancel culture versus accountability.
Yep.
For the industry. So yeah.
And then we'll be back again for Indie Volt Radio on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. And then again, the Breakfast Buzz on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Plus, between that is usually a Geekgasm on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m., where Lola, the indie princess, gets on, and they hopefully comics from a female perspective, depending upon the guests that she has on.
Yeah. It's quite a raunchy show.
It can get, very adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the show I need to get on.
Yeah.
Now you need to talk to Lola about being a guest.
It's a shame.
Marvy says, I hope to be able to see Art of War today. Best of luck, Anthony. Great show, guys. Take care and be safe out there. Pop says something like that. This is good. Good show, gents. Comic Book Advocate says no logo. Do we have a logo for you?
We have a logo for did he
We have
sneak it in there?
We have a logo. Here we got this one.
He was sneaking. Oh, here it
We
is.
got that one.
I think this is this one. Is it this
We
one?
got this one. Which one?
This one here, I believe.
Oh, that one. The cancel culture versus accountability in the industry. Do you agree or disagree? Have an opinion. Just want to watch? 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday night. And all of our times that we've listed are Eastern Standard Time, so please adjust your calendar and clocks accordingly.
Yeah. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We took over the
your
9 o'clock
alarms.
time slot, so it's ours. 9 o'clock time slot is ours. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. Me and Randy will see you back soon. Until then, I guess that's it.
It's the Sup Ass Boys. See you later. So we hope everybody has a great day. We hope you are all safe and happy, and that things are going well for you. Before we leave, Ralph says no Sunday morning show. Nothing solidly scheduled yet, but you never know when we're going to break in on Indie Volt Radio. So, and if we do, we'll be around on YouTube also. And also, please, everybody listening, if you have access to YouTube, get over there to the Indie Volt channel and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, because we can use all the subscribers we can get our hands on. And eventually, hopefully, it's our goal to actually become monetized, so we have to worry about YouTube's silly rules and monetization and copyright strikes. So
Yeah.
Yes. In the meantime, take care, everybody. Make sure you listen to more Indie Volt, Indie Volt Radio. There'll be more music coming up after this. And take care, everyone. He said as he was looking for the ending here. There we are. Okay, there we go. Any parting words, everyone? Mark Bloodworth, thanks so much for being on. I appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome on here. We need to have you on for a full show so that we can really get to know you.
Yeah, I think Varian needs to get that documentary going on the Arrow guys. You better hurry up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not getting any
You
younger.
gotta hurry up before they die.
Exactly.
We really
we're
need.
all a couple years, one side or the other of 60 right now, man. Don't wait too much longer.
We're all 1 foot out of the grave.
Yeah.
We really need to get Ralph and Stu hooked up and just all do an Arrow podcast. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Should do.
I'm trying to get around to it, guys. It would have been filmed already had the beer bug not stepped up and decided to slow things down. But
It's coming.
now
It's
that-
coming.
Yeah. We're gonna. I've got a boom arm now, so I can stay like 18 feet away and still record.
Social distancing,
Yep.
always. Yes. All right. Okay, everybody, take care. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again for listening.